Saya perkenalkan hari ini kita punya speaker tak lain dan tak bukan Datuk Asma kita, Iron Lady, mantan Vice Chancellor for USIM dan juga USM. So kita ada ramai ni wanita-wanita kita yang berpotensi untuk menjadi pemimpin higher education ni. Jadi kita boleh belajar dengan Datuk Asma. So saya rasa saya tak nak membazir masa, saya buka kepada Datuk Asma untuk mulakan sesi selama 1 jam dan kemudian kita buka as many question as possible juga hanya setakat 1 jam lah, kalau tak nanti meleret tak berbuka lah kita. Saya tahu there's a lot of question that will be raised. Jadi Datuk, saya serahkan kepada Datuk untuk mulakan sesi. Silakan.
Terima kasih Profesor Nik Mahiran. So salam sejahtera. And good afternoon to everyone, and I hope everyone is well and stay safe, stay at home with you and the family. So I'd like to take this opportunity basically to thank AKEPT and UMK, especially Professor Nik Mahiran, for putting together this particular online conference, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. And I guess this is going to be a standard operating procedure from now on, because this is the way conferences at local and international level is going to be with all this COVID pandemic. I think for about 2 years, we'll probably be running conferences in this method. So what it says to me now is that connectivity is going to be very important, connectivity via internet. And this is going to be the must, and I think the future is going to be via e-commerce. And with the 275 billion stimulus package, we know that budget cuts to the university is going to happen, and probably by this online is the safer and cheaper alternative. So for those, I can see more than 123 on my screen join. And I was made to understand that particularly this particular topic is to see that everyone yang dalam UniLeeb topic ni aspires to be a leader in the university, and some of you already are leaders, deans, pengarah, etc. And many also had visions to be a vice chancellor. And before I proceed, let me tell you, for those of us who are under MOHE, MOHE happens to be the cleverest ministry, because as Datuk Radwan say, among IPTA there's already more than 3,000 professors. So pandai, bijak pandai belaka. And many more is there in the IPTS. So becoming a VC or top management of the university is not quite the same as becoming a CEO of a company. And for a company, the bottom line is going to be profit. But being a leader in university is also about being entrepreneurial, in the sense that you have to generate income even for an IPTA. But if you are a leader in the university, you have to now deal with iconic professors and some of the brightest academics that have returned from Oxford, from Cambridge, from Stanford, whatever, and they're some of the brightest minds in the country. And to be the Vice Chancellor, number one, above all, you have to gain the respect of all these clever people, right? And then it's not just being the number one, it's also about shaping the talents of the future to be learned, values-driven talents that are balanced between knowledge, skills, and character. And you also have to now drive the university towards nation building. Ramai orang tak bercakap tentang nation building. You have to know that when you are now going to be the VC of a university, is about shaping the minds of the future towards nation building and also to be a global player. So being a VC is not about self-establishment. You know, self-establishment means you want to have power, you want to have respect, right? But rather the leader needs to bring purpose to the university and use the vast knowledge that is there now in university to do good for humanity and help for nation building. So if this is the case, being the VC of a university is very loaded with accountability and responsibility. And so I have to ask the question, why would anyone in their right mind want to be a VC of university? It's better to be just an iconic professor where you can now do things on your own. You don't have to worry about the rest of the things. So being the number one, therefore, with all these responsibilities, you gotta ask the question whether you have what it takes to be one, right? And to have what it takes to be one, to me personally, I think that you need to go through step by step of leadership training or competency framework. And there are no shortcuts to the training of becoming a good leader. You have to climb the ladder step by step. Of course, for those who are very ambitious, you can make a shortcut, you can be nice to a minister, you can play politics, you can have the minister put you there as number one. You can do that. But bottom line is that when you hold that position, you will falter. You will falter when you are faced with all the bright sparks of the university. You will falter because you do not have yet the competency nor the wisdom to be able to lead the university. And clever people in university will see that. They will smell that you are unable to lead the pack. So basically, if you are half-baked, right, you may not become a good number one. So because, you know, at the end of the day, academics are such that when you ask them to do something, they will obey you, but that doesn't mean they respect you, right? And to be a great leader, you need the cooperation and the buy-in of everyone in order for you to move forward to university. And to do that, you have to have the qualities of leader. So what are the qualities of leader? Number one is to be a role model. Oh my God, when you are the number one, you stop being, do things that you want to do. You gotta be what is expected of you as the number one, because behind you is a whole university. So you have to be a role model, you have to demonstrate honesty, humility, values, integrity, and above all, be charismatic and articulate. And you've got to be energized all the time so that people don't see, Allah nampak letihnya makcik ni. So you cannot afford, so I keep saying to myself, I'm always 29, you know. So, and when you are number one, it doesn't stop there. You have to continue to develop, have self-awareness so that you can continue to improve. The next thing is you have to be an inspirer. You have to be visionary. You have to set the direction of university every year when you give your annual talk. This is the time they are judging you, whether you are going to lead this university forward, whether you have the vision to bring this university forward, or whether you're just a so-so kind of vice chancellor that's just taking care of the university. And they have to see what are the risks that you're going to bring this university to go forward. Next, you have to be an enabler. You have to help make people grow. You know, it's not about you, it's about how now you grow people. You got to be supportive. You got to find empathy. You have to understand what does a young academic need, what does a middle academic need, what is a senior academic needs, what are their needs, and then you have to try to put them together. And basically you have to undergo collaboration. All right, no man is an island now. You have to undergo collaboration. International collaboration is now very important, and it's not about keeping the cards to yourself. It's about now sharing of information and collaborate. Then you have to be an achiever. Always we're looking for impact. We're looking focus on results. Whatever that you decide to do for the university, do you achieve what is there? And you have to lead change. People expect the changes that is to be there. You have to lead that change. You have to show results. And this is where sometimes people don't teach you this. Negotiation skills become very, very important. All right, you have to be able to negotiate also as to get the buy-in of the people. Bottom line, I have to say this. When you become number one, either you are number one in your department, or number one in your center of excellence, or either number one in the university, you cannot afford to be hungry. Right? What do I mean by that? Bulan puasa ni memang semua hungry lah. But what do I mean by that is that you already have what it takes. If you are still hungry, you as number one, you will see many opportunities coming to you. And this is the time where you will now say, maybe I should take that opportunity and not give to the one who truly deserves it. So when you have that kind of thinking, meaning to say you are not yet ready to be the number one. When you have to be that, when you are number one and trusted to be number one, you have to make that sacrifice. Let others fly first. All right, that should be the aim of the game. So bottom line is that leaders must constantly become lifelong learners and basically respond to change. So this is where I keep telling people in USM and also in the country whenever I give talk, you got to learn, you have to unlearn, you have to relearn, you have to co-learn, and you have to co-create. You have to do that all the time. It doesn't stop just because when you are the Knight Chancellor. Of course, then the next question you want to ask is that, are leaders made or born? You know, and basically you have to ask, well, how many of us are actually born leaders? All right, and studies have shown that leaders are 30% genetic, the rest of the time. And in Islam, you find leaders in Islam, it says that God made very few people as born leaders. But those who are born leaders must always, it's their job to now find potential leaders and nurture them, right? So it doesn't stop there. But, so what happened to the rest of us who are not born leaders? What happened to the rest of us who are entrusted with leadership? I think majority of us are entrusted with leadership. And when you are entrusted with this leadership, when the VC say, please take up the job of the dean, please take up the head of department, you don't go around saying, oh no, I don't really think I can make it. When given the opportunity, take it. Because the day you say no, if I was number one, I will never come back to you again. Because when I give you the opportunity means I have already thought it through and you deserve that position. That is why I want you to be the one in charge. But you said no. The day you said no, I will not come back to you again. So bottom line is that when you are entrusted with the position, do not escape that responsibility. And whether you are born to be a leader or you're entrusted with leadership, you still must acquire and learn leadership skill, right? Leadership cannot be taught. Leadership can only be learned, okay? And to be a leader, basically you have to have the courage and commitment to take up that position. So leaders learn by doing and via experiential learning through experience and not just by attending seminars. Like, okay, you pay for a seminar to be a CEO and you listen to someone, you come out there and say, yeah, I think I have what it takes now to be a leader. No, not yet. And leadership is also not about age. You know, you can still be a young one and be a good leader. It's not about age, it's about how many exposures that you have. It's about the experience, all right, the number of experience that you now have to develop enough to create wisdom, all right? And basically, as I said, it's a step by step. You climb the ladder, one ladder at a time, one step at a time, and you have to learn to crawl before you can walk. So for young academics that is listening in, whenever the dean or the ketua jabatan give you some work, take it. Take up all this assignment, because with all this assignment is where you start to learn about how to do network. You learn how to be resourceful. You learn who's who doing what. You learn about perangai macam-macam. You know now what it takes now to make it into a success. It can be an event, it can be an ISO thingy or whatever. So basically, the more exposures you have, you're gonna make mistakes, but from that mistakes you will learn. And this to me, I would encourage. A lot of the time people will say, when the dean or the head of department or TNC gave you a job, you will say, no, I'm going to concentrate on my research because I need to have the papers, etc. Forget about giving my time for the department or for the school or for the Center of Excellence. So this is where now you must see that this is all part and parcel of learning leadership. So experiential learning is very important. So maybe some of you will ask the question, well, VCs are political appointments, so why do I care, right? Why do I listen to you now, go through all this step by step? At the end of the day, I'm not going to be a vice chancellor anyway, because it's a political position. Bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, you have to care. Leadership in the university matters. Whoever is the number one of the university matters, because that number one is the influencer that's going to make a difference to the rise and fall of the university. That is the one that's going to make whether the environment for you to work in that university conducive or this environment is going to be a bad environment for you. All right. So the one who is number one matters, leadership matters, right? And influencer basically is the voice of reason that people will turn to. So how do you know that? Because in a meeting, you have a meeting and people start talking, and everyone, when they start talking, whether they realize it or not, they will face this one person. And that's how in a meeting, I will know who's the real influencer in a meeting. And this is where I will now be able, body language is very important to pick up, because this is the one that you need to be able to get the buy-in from, because whatever the voice of reason that is said will now make a difference. But all voices of reason cannot be received as reasonable unless it comes from experience. That's why when you have experience and you bagi suggestion, people will listen to you, right? Because it makes sense, right? So, and therefore the VC has to be a transformational leader that is articulate. I cannot emphasize this more. Charismatic, very important. Articulate, very important. Convincing, very important. And be able, when you talk, you inspire, you motivate, you show passion and you show drive, because people will catch on with that drive and then move them forward. So to be respected, number one, if you want to be the number one in a university, I don't care, IPTA or IPTS, you have to have academic standing. I think Radwan also mentioned that yesterday. Datuk Radwan also mentioned that yesterday. You have to have academic standing, right? And with admirable leadership qualities, with character, with values, honesty, integrity, empathy, creativity, agile, can respond to change. And you have to have knowledge with governance. This is the thing PhD never teach you, okay? You have to learn about governance. And a lot of the time, those who become deans, those who become TNCs don't even give a hoot about governance. But if you want to be the number one, you want to be top management, you have to learn governance of the university, the statute, what it's all about, what you can do, what you cannot do, because you are going to drive that university forward. And therefore, it's very important you understand that. And of course, the wisdom to lead. And today's leadership is no longer dictatorial. It's about participatory leadership, right? You need to now, everybody wants to have a chance to contribute to the building of a university, right? And therefore, you need now to learn the word empowerment. So you have to now empower people, cascade it down, empower your deans, empower your TNCs, empower your ketua-ketua jabatan, whatever, down the line, empower the people, empower academic staff, empower the students to together build the university. And the concept of empowerment is that you have to be a good listener. And a lot of the times the leader, they keep on talking and they don't have the time to stop and listen to others. So this is where you have to be able to stop, listen to what people are saying, and then empower them, make informed consensus decision. Because informed consensus decision gets you the buy-in. There was a question yesterday, what do you value most? I value most when people now come together and they say their piece. But at the end of the day, say your piece. But when we decide on an informed consensus decision, everybody must follow through. Right? You don't membelakangi that decision. That is a no-no. So as VC, when you make that informed, even when you are not in favor of it, but because this is the informed consensus decision, stand by it. Because that is the concept of trustworthiness that needs to be there. People need to trust you. If people don't trust you, then you bagi idea, at the end of the day dia akan buat juga apa benda dia nak buat. Itu konsep yang tak bagus. Right? So if people now say this way, then we go this way because this is the best way for the university. So therefore it's important that as leaders university, when given the chance to lead, you must be trustworthy and you must take responsibility and accountability till the last minute. People don't understand. When you become the vice chancellor, you are vice chancellor until 12 midnight on that day. You can still make decisions. This is what governance is all about. You can still give your last hurrah. But a lot of the time people ask you to have this ceremony, they ask you to clock out, and after that they say, okay, bye, next vice chancellor come in. No. Next vice chancellor comes in only at 12, after 12 midnight the next day. You still can sign a few things. So this is what I mean to the last minute. Of course, you're going to say to me, okay, there are different leadership styles that need to be there because it depends on the stage of the university. Some universities are new, and so maybe you need dictatorial, authoritative, what they call yesterday, bulldozer kind of concept. But bulldozer pun perlu consensus decision. But you bulldoze to make sure that that consensus decision takes place, make it reality. That is what you need to do. Still, but right now with the internet, with everybody now all being clever, we all have access to knowledge. We all know what is it needs to be done. So in medium or mature universities, participatory leadership, I think, is the way forward now. So the topic for today, moving up the ladder by design. So basically, to become a leader in university by design, I have 3 things I would like to share with you. Number 1, have access and make sure you have good and solid education from primary to secondary to tertiary that will prepare you to become a good academic, that will prepare you to have a good academic career with leadership qualities. What did I say? You have to have academic standing. You have to have that respect if you want to become the number 1 in the university. And then first thing, academic, good access to good education. Secondly, upon joining the university, make sure that you have academic standing, as I said, in your field of expertise. Not just anything, academic standing in your field of expertise and undergo experiential learning to be a leader. This is the step-by-step exposure that I said you need to have. And when you do become a leader, I will show you also you need to now overcome barriers in leadership positions. So those are the 3 things. And basically, those successful in the domain areas of expertise usually gets into the AKEPT pool of being considered for leadership. So now I will share some of the things that I've done to see how the step-by-step of what it takes to be me today. I was born in Jitra, Kedah and attended Sekolah Ahmad Tajuddin, always first in class, and then moved to Penang in the middle of Standard 3. And that was my first challenge. Because I had come from the boondocks of Jitra, Kedah, they put me in, my father put me in Residency Road Girls' School. For those from Penang, you know that that is the number 1 primary school. And they didn't trust what boondocks of Jitra, Kedah education is all about. So they put me in Standard 3I, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Okay, I have never been beyond A, but now I'm in an I. So I cried and I said to my father, this is ridiculous. I don't want to be here, I want to go back to Kedah. And my father said, okay, rise above the challenge and show them what Jitra education can do. So at the end of the year, I made it as first in class of the entire of Standard 3, and of course then I moved to 4A and 5A and 6A. I ended up being a prefect and ended up being a head girl. So from small, I was always entrusted with leadership. Then after residency, it's very clear my path for good education is to move to St. George's Girls' School, the #1 school for girls in Penang. And again, made a prefect. And but my opportunity after Form 3 was to move to TKC, College Tunku Kusya. For those of you who are College Tunku Kusya people, TKC, all right, the number among the top boarding schools in the country. And this is where now I learned that being #1 in St. George's means nothing when you now compete with the best brains in the country. And this is where you now have to give your all. And you have to say, never give up until you really done what you need to do to compete. And basically, again, in TKC, I was a prefect. But what I learned from TKC is to become a Piala Perdana debater, you know, and that was my opportunity to learn, to critical thinking, thinking on my feet, to be articulate, to be able to express myself, to build confidence in public speaking. So that builds what I am today. And while other people were having recess and eating, I was being trained and sharpened to now be able to debate on any topic, pro and con. And that means you have to think on your feet. And this is a good training ground for me. Of course, you have to read well in order to be pro or con for any of the topic. And how do I influence the public when I'm talking? That's very important, because that's what made me the best speaker in either both Malay or English. So that is one. But after MCE, I choose MCE, okay, most of you don't understand MCE, but for those of you who are my age, you understand MCE. I choose to go to the United States to study because I'm so into Michael Jackson and he's there in the US. And of course, some of you may ask, Michael who? Okay, but never mind. I went to US, and I think that was a good choice because US, I don't have to go through A-levels. I'm sure if I had gone through A-levels, I'd probably fail. I went straight into undergraduate program at 17 and graduated with distinction, and from University of Nevada, Reno, because I'm graduated with distinction, I'm part and parcel of Phi Kappa Phi, you know, that kind of situation. I obtained my BSc at 21, and I got a job. I was interviewed in my own kitchen in the United States by the then Professor Shahrum, who was the TNC of USM. And that's how I got a job from USM as a RLKA, Academic Staff Training Scheme. So at the medical school. So I know where I'm going back to. So I know what are the area that I need to now emphasize upon. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, I grew up in US. The ups and downs of student life in US had basically molded my character, my personality, my, you know, zest for making sure women gets up there, my attitude and the concept of teamwork. And the concept of, when there are only 20 of us in Reno at that time, Malaysian, the concept of supporting each other. And of course, the undergraduate days were the best days of my life, right? Then I went to Indiana University for my master's in microbiology. Indiana University trained me good science, trained me how to be critical about science, doing good research, be a solution provider, boosted again my confidence in articulation, because I have to do presentation, journal club every week. Now you ask the graduate student to do journal club every week, most of them will complain. They don't even want to be able to talk. Jangan kata the student, the lecturer sendiri pun susah nak bagi journal club because they're not confident to be able to speak. So then I started my PhD at, again, I went back to UNR. This is the time I learned about marriage and sacrifice. I got into Berkeley, I got into medicine, I got into Loyola, I got into all the best schools in the country of US. But my father said, be with your husband. So like all good Muslim wives, I gave that all up and joined my husband at the School of Medicine in University of Nevada, Reno. So I went back to Reno. And he was doing nuclear physics and I was doing cellular and molecular biology. So I completed my master's 2 years, PhD 3 years, published 7 papers while doing my PhD and from the School of Medical Sciences, and came back to Penang and became a pioneer. I was the first 20 that set up the medical school in USM. And I came back in 1986 at the age of 28. So this is what I learned, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about where you get your degree from, it's what do you do after you get the degree. That will make or break your career. And the best kind of education is one that builds your character, your values, build your drive, your passion in whatever you want to do, plus solid research capability and ability to publish in top journals. So you need that kind of education. It's not about just going anywhere, just get PhD, senang-senang, hello. You want to have academic standing, you've got to be rigorous in the way you've been trained for your PhD. So as a young lecturer in the School of Medicine, as soon as you come back from US, penyapu baru, hello, everybody will want you to do everything, you know, or go and organize some party, go and organize annual dinner, go and organize this conference, go and organize that conference. Betul tak? Ramai of you will probably nod your head because that is a fact, Jack. Because when you come back, you are the penyapu baru, the seniors tak sabar nak let go all of their punya job dekat you, okay? And but I took it up, bodoh that I am, I took it up because I thought that this be interesting. I've been in US all the while, I want to contribute to Malaysian cara doing things. So but I learned at a young age to have networking, and I learned about USM. I learned what pembangunan is about, how they think. I learned about how the TNC think. I learned about how the Dean thinks. I learned about a lot of things. And I learned to now be able to be resourceful, because when you want to do something, you have to know, you have to be resourceful. But for every young academic yang baru balik, be careful, be careful. Because if you tak control yourself and don't have any discipline, you start doing a lot of rubbish things to the end, at the end of the day, you tak concentrate on research. And if you're in molecular biology, if you miss 1 month, there's a lot of things that are developed. If you miss 3 months, that means a lot of things you are behind. So you have to catch up. So I have my mentor at that time, Professor Mary Jane Cardoza, who's into vaccine, for those of you who know Mary Jane Cardoza, with the dengue. She said, hello, woman, get back to research. And that is where I said, yes, ma'am, I need to get back to research. I wrote my grant, and my first grant money, RM 6,000 ringgit. Yeah, I set up the molecular lab in the medical school. At that time, during my time, berapa orang sangat dalam medical biotech, and probably about 3 of us are in medical biotech. And my VC at that time was Tan Sri Musa, who then became the Minister of Education. But as an academic, young academic, I stepped foot into USM, I already know what I want. I want to end up being a professor at this university. That's what I want. Do I have visions of being a vice chancellor? Hello, no. At that time, no glass ceiling has been broken for any woman to become a vice chancellor. So 1986, folks, there's no such thing as women becoming a vice chancellor. And therefore, if you want to be a professor, you want to move academic standing, what should I work on? And this is where I don't know about you guys, but I got my advice from a Nobel laureate, Arwah Ahmad Ziwel, right? And Ahmad Ziwel said, write this down. If we work on research topics that the West is not interested in, we will always be 20 years ahead. But if we work on research topics that the West is interested in, we will be 20 years behind. That, in essence, ladies and gentlemen, is blue ocean strategy. If we concentrate on something that we need in this part of the world, all right, we will be able to create impact. That's what we want. So obviously, in the medical school at that time, they gave me the topic on typhoid. I said, typhoid is very big. what is it about typhoid that I want to do? So what is it that from medical biotech background that I have that I can now work on typhoid? What I choose to work on is going to make or break my career. Whether you know it or not, all right, whether you're going to move up fast in the university is based on what is your choice to be good in. I had a choice, typhoid, either I want to do mechanism of the disease, or I want to do about treatment, or I want to do about vaccine, I want to do about pathogenesis, virulence, etc., or do I want to concentrate on diagnostic? So I'm the kind of person who says, if I want to do something, I want to do something during my lifetime. Because to me, if I have to have my graduate student to follow what I do, you know that's not going to happen. Graduate students will need to have their own life, and when they have their own job, they will do things. So I want to do on something that I can now make sure it happens during my lifetime, and that's why I chose to go into diagnostics, right? And at USM, as I said, whoever is the VC matters, whoever is the TNC matters. And for me, I had a great time. I had a great support. USM has been very kind to me all my life. Great support from the department head, from the dean of the medical school, from the TNC PNI, that time was Datuk KJ Ratnam, and the VC Tan Sri Musa. I was given freedom at the medical school and encouraged to fly. And basically, I came in in 1986, started work, September 1986, started work in about January of 1987. By 1994, I had commercialized Typhidot, the rapid diagnostic kit for typhoid. I filed 38 patents for that and attained 12 patents for typhoid, published a lot of papers on it, and Typhidot basically became Malaysia's success story because at least 20 publications worldwide, not by me, but by others, to publish on Typhidot, created a spin-off biotech company, first biodiagnostic spin-off company for Malaysia. I became a technopreneur overnight. Created Typhidot, created because of the distribution of Typhidot to 18 countries around the world, created 500 jobs around the world, supported local industries like packaging industry, the making of the kits, the bottles, etc. Generated forex for the country, you know, because Typhidot is sold in USD. Basically, because of the success story of Typhidot, I basically won more than 100 awards, invited to international talks, etc., to give talks, and attain about 14 million in terms of R&D grants. All this before I became professor, okay? I was made WHO advisor in diagnostics and vaccine for typhoid. I was made head of department and then deputy dean, all this before becoming a professor. Then in 2000, I became professor and made the founding director of INFORM, the Institute for Research in Molecular Medicine. And then I drove to make sure INFORM became a HICO in 5 years. So by this time, I was heading many big grants in the country and was made part of the national. So, you know, when you are head department or dean, you're myopic, you know, your thinking is about the head. When you are TNC, your thinking is about the university. But when you go to national level, your thinking now is bigger. You have to talk about the country. What does the country want? And I was made part of the ERPA steering committee, part of the biotech steering committee, part of the MOHE steering committee. So, and all because I had gone through the entire value chain of academic, you know, fundamental, applied, created platforms, created innovation, commercialization, entrepreneurial, the whole works, right? So basically in that scope, I understand what needs to be done for R&D in the country and the kind of grants and technologies that you need to have. So during my time when I was a senior academic, I had chaired all the TNC PNIs. Basically, I come up with the words FRGS, ERGS, etc. PRGS. I even came out paper for PRGS. Then I was handpicked by Tan Sri Musa and Datuk Hassan Said, who was the DG of higher education at that time, to be part of the 12 people that helped establish research university in the country. And that's how the USM team actually came up with Myra. So kalau siapa yang marah sangat pasal Myra ni, saya lah yang membawa Myra konsep kepada RU. But being developed, established RU in 2006, but in 2008 I was made the TNC-PNI of USM. And this is the irony of it. I had developed the Myra, and now as TNC-PNI, I have to lead USM to make sure we get the RU. I mean, it's ridiculous. You establish the Myra and then end up USM sendiri fail. This is a no-no. So failure is not an option for USM. And that's how we became RU, first 4 RU, tanpa UTM. So later, 3 years later, baru UTM joined the PAC as an RU. But while I was TNC-PNI, I will have to say we changed the landscape enough. Masa tu banyak duit, so we changed the landscape enough that USM remained as the #1 RU for 5 years. And then I left, okay? But before that, there was, we set up Anugerah Sangga Sanjung, which then later translated to Anugerah Akademik Negara. And Hassan Said said, okay, since you understand, can you please chair Anugerah Akademik Negara? And that's how the prestigious Anugerah Akademik Negara was established, and I was the founding chairperson to make sure it happens for 7 years. And then we became an APEX university, because then we realized that impact kepada humanity, nation building is very important, so became part and parcel to deliver the APEX status for USM. And then I left USM to become the VC of USIM. So what I want to say here is that I was very fortunate. Not many people can have this exposure, but if you are given this opportunity, learn. Fortunate to be exposed at the national level. I now understand the needs of the country. Not just myopic for the needs of a particular university or department. I now understand the journey to get policies passed at the national level, and I learn, for God's sake, to not become political, but to be political savvy. And a lot of the times, you know, these young people, they get very angry, they want things to be done now. You forget, hello, it takes you to be political savvy to move policies in the country. There are many inter-agencies you need to please, and that is important for you to understand that. And when a lot of people say, you want to leave USM for what again? USIM. That a lot of people have not heard of USIM. USIM, of course, is the 12th IPTA in the country, at the time middle and climbing. I had asked Datuk Khalid Nordin, who was the minister at that time, why is it that I'm not VC of USM? Why VC of USIM? And this is what he replied, that if you remain in USM, how much more can you do to move it? You're already #1, moving the university is #1 for the last 5 years. How much more can you do? But if you go to USIM, you will create a legacy. And that's what he said. So basically, I'm very comfortable with USM because I can feel the pulse. You cannot be a leader if you cannot feel the pulse of the university. And I don't feel anything about USIM, and I don't know USIM. And then you know, I'm the kind who love music, who will dance, who will do all these things, and suddenly I have to go to an Islamic university. Hello. And then a woman at that, to go to an Islamic university. I mean, I said to my husband, I think I'm going to die. And then he said to me, okay, remember, there's another woman who is the Vice Chancellor of another. There's only 2, at that time, there's only 2 Islamic universities before UNIZA. So UIA, and UIA was led by Datuk Sri Zaliha. So, dua wanita yang tak semayang jemaat sekarang ni menjadi Vice Chancellor of Islamic University. So I picked up my courage and confidence, and I had said, okay, I learned a lot from USM. I should be able to deliver this at USIM. And basically, I went alone to USIM. I didn't bring an entourage because I believe that if you are a good leader, and if you want to create a sustainable change, I know I'm not going to be in USIM for long, right? Because one day I have to come back to USM. I'm on loan to USIM. So I said, to myself lah, if you are a good leader, you will train to create a sustainable change in the university. You have to train Usimians to become leaders, because if you bring a new team in, then you tak empower. I felt you tak empower. So the people in USIM to become leader. You macam tak percaya yang mereka boleh lead, that mereka boleh grow. And yet to be a VC is to make it to be an enabler. You need to now make sure they grow. You need to support them. And you know, from an RU where I always defend the budget for USM, and I usually have 1.2 billion budget. Dulu zaman dulu budget 1.2 billion. Learning, I don't think so. So, and I went now to 120 million budget for the entire year. Did you get what I just said? 1.2 versus 120 million to run a university. So that was a big adjustment to having money that you can now throw upon when you make decision, to not having money at all to throw anything, right? So, but I find out that you need to now learn how to defend for budget. So we learn together with the Bendahari of USIM, learn to get budget. Now USIM runs at almost 200 million per year. And in USIM, they usually habis kerja by 4:30 or 5. And people from USM will know, nobody goes home until I go home. So bottom line is that USIMians learn about JKPU, you know, Jawatankuasa Tinggi University, to now have meetings, consensus meetings, supaya every decision made in USIM is a consensus decision. And they start to understand that you can no longer play golf at 4:30 in USIM, and that you now have to go home whenever the meeting finish. And basically, that helped to move USIM. They learn about governance, they learn about moving things, and I learn more from USIM than probably USIM learned from me, I think. Because to me, I learn about universal values. I learn about balance between ilmu nakli, divine knowledge, and akli, human knowledge. I learn about the balance between knowledge and character. And you notice the same words is now in the blueprint of higher education, to be balanced between knowledge, skills, and character. So I started basically Islamic Science grant while I was at USIM. Basically, to me, being Vice Chancellor of USIM is not a job. It is a calling. I see USIM as a university that needs a lot of help, and everything that I have in me at USM, I managed to turn around USIM in 2 years. I didn't complete my Vice Chancellorship at USIM for the 3 years. I built Permata Insan to develop the future Muslim scientists. I learned to now complete 12 buildings. All my experience in USM or having to deal with pembangunan and development of all these buildings now all come in crystal clear, so I can plan and complete 12 buildings in USIM. And all this within 2 years, I came into USIM and said, hello, this University Science Islam, where is the mosque? And they said, there's no mosque. I said, in USM, yang university tak ada Islam tengah ataupun ada mosque. So what happened to your mosque? So basically now we built the one. I think if you go to the mosque in USIM, it's a very beautiful one, and I helped design. And I made it into a thinking mosque, because that mosque always, when designers, architects, when they design a mosque, they always think that the man will be about men, okay? Yang woman ni sila do atas, don't know what. I say, hello, 70% of the students in USIM are women, and there are very few men, there are only 30%. So redesign the mosque at USIM, supaya they cater more for the female sector. So this is, and then it's a thinking one. So I hope when you go there, you understand what I'm talking about for regarding the masjid. So, and of course, I completed the USIM Big Hall, which is right now a very nice one for all the graduation ceremony. So as predicted by Khalid Nordin, I left a legacy at USIM after 2 years of great memories, and I left to become the DG of higher education. So ladies and gentlemen, I have to say, until now, if USIMians, you are listening, USIM always will always have a special place in my heart, because that is the place I learned that the students call me Bonda. All right, and it was I asked Zaliha, why do they call me Bonda? Why don't they call me Mama? But you say in Islam, if you call Bonda, that is the one of high respect. So that's why when I went back to USM, I also have the students call me Bonda. So DG of higher education, the journey is a long one. So I learned the meaning of stress. I have never learned the meaning of stress if it steamroll over my face, but as DG of higher education, Arham, if you're listening, all right, I learned the meaning of stress. It's constant bashing on higher education. Tak pernah lagi, why do I bother to be the DG of higher education when everybody, politik lah, apalah, parents, constant bashing of higher education. Tak pernah apa yang dibuat oleh higher education tu betul. Selalu complain. So then I learned from Idris Yusof the meaning of communicate, communicate, communicate. And by different media for different stakeholders, and therefore now shift base from R&D to suddenly on higher education and the need to change to flexible education. And that's what you are today, flexible education, online learning. If we had done this, trust number 9, if we had done this, it would be okay already by now. So I learned to put all these issues of higher education and then how to now come up with the answer to all these issues, and that's how we come up with the blueprint of higher education done with they took about 42 professors involved, 2 years. I said, listen to this, it's not McKinsey. McKinsey worked with us, we worked together, and I said that when I was DG to form this blueprint, I want Malaysians to determine our destiny. McKinsey will help us to put this into reality, true, but they will not dictate how it's to be done. It's the 42 professors who helped build this blueprint. Karim, I see you are there, so you're one of them that helped to move for global online learning. So basically when you start to be in higher education, there's a lot of policies that need to be, I understand all that, understand governance at the back of my hand, I understand Act 555 to take care, because as DG you are in charge, you are registrar of all the IPTS and the DG of all the IPTA. So you have to know both worlds, you have to meet the needs of both worlds. So the needs of IPTS and I think I made so much changes that IPTS now calm down with their complaints, all right? So I had many ideas, but no army. It's a lonely world out there as a DG of higher education. You know, I can see when we developed the RU and I came back to become the TNC, how now you can now implement it, because you understood what the MIRA is all about, and you can make this university to become, USM to become #1 for 5 years. Just like I understand the blueprint, I understand the blueprint like the back of my hand. But when people talk about the blueprint, some of them don't understand it well. And when they articulate about it and when they try to cascade, it makes it sound as if it's very difficult and away from what this blueprint is all about. So I had a lot of ideas, but I couldn't implement because I don't have an army. So on my 3rd year as a DG, I said to Idris Yusof, I think I need to come back. I need to see whether the blueprint can be implemented and whether betul tak this blueprint, as UNESCO and all the professors around the world had said, this is one of the best blueprints ever written. So I want to see whether it can be implemented. So I had a choice of various universities to lead, should I desire to leave JPT, but I choose to come back to USM. Can you imagine if I had gone to become VC of another university, USM people would probably spit on my face. So bottom line is that I return to USM. So when you're back at USM, so what's going to be different this time around? Okay, you've done what you can, people remember you before as TNC, but what is going to be different this time around? Well, it's great to be back, but I also know that before I return, and one of the reasons that prompted Idris Yusof to send me back was because he's an alma mater of USM. You know, he's also, it pained both of us when USM start to dip in terms of ranking, dip in terms of becoming an RU. So I came in hard stop QS ranking 330. So Idris Yusof said to me, go back there, turn around, see whether you can bring USM back to top 100. And Basically, any vice chancellor, if you are thinking you go into university with a deep in the S curve, you got to act fast. How do you want to bring up that S curve? The longer you delay, the deeper is the S curve, and that at some point in time you can no longer lift the S curve. And I know I have only 3 years to do it because I'm going to pension. Although 29, but I'm hitting reality. So in 3 years, I'm about to pension off. So not now lah, now dah pension lah. But I realized one thing, you know, being in USM is a university that is never short of leaders. Penuh dengan leader dalam USM ni. It just needs a VC that can pull all of their strength together. Because once you can pull that USM pride to be together, USM will fly. Okay, that I'm banking on USM to make it fly within that 3 years. So empowerment to me is the key. I have JKPU with USM top management. Every week they complain about it. Now they understand why you need to have JKPU every week, because every decision is a top management decision. It's not a VC decision. So how can you be accountable and you are top management, you are not, and you are accountable to that decision, and you don't have a privy nor discussion about that particular decision? So it cannot be that way. So that's why I coined the word #USM style. I had gone NLP training, neuro-linguistic programming. NLP training is about making sure that you bring people together, and how to do it in a strategic manner is about changing the mindset, and that is what it means. By saying #USM style, it brought back the pride and what USM is all about. And doing this in a participatory manner, it does help. After all, this is an RU, and you cannot move the university unless you get the buy-in of all the clever people who are also icons in their own right in the university. So good leaders, ladies and gentlemen, will empower to build trust and excellence in the organization. And to empower, you need to basically stop and listen to people. And what it means that you include all your team members in all your decision making. That means top management, after that cascading to the deans, and then you have to, now if you betul-betul serious, you have to monitor the progress of the dean, because the dean pun nak cascade down, and they also want you to hear whether what they've been doing is right. There's nothing worse than you say, okay, cascade to the dean, and then you don't even do a progress or monitoring of how the deans, and you don't reward them for their achievements. So these kind of things need to be there in an organization to balance all that, right? Empowerment basically builds confidence in people to innovate and create and deliver all these actions and whatever decisions that is being made. And empowerment basically creates the trust in the organization, along the way will create therefore new layers of future leaders. And well, it's past now, but at that time, I wanted to make USM a preferred university by design, and doing it together, #USM style. That is what I have always wanted, because there's so many universities now. You know, just like you can have your choice of restaurant, but why do you always pilih McDonald's? Because it's the preferred choice. So the same thing, there are many RUs. Why do you want to work with USM? Because it's the preferred university. So this is the mindset that I had in mind. And to be a preferred university, you have to create hebat graduates. And that's how we came up with the word hebat, holistic, entrepreneurial, balanced, articulate thinking graduate. And the students also emphasize hebatness. Okay. And falsafah pendidikan negara is something that needs to be done, but it's always forgotten in the concept of nation building. And that's where I talk about unity, I talk about diversity, I talk about the global village, and talk about the fact that every time when we in the IPTA, for God's sake, the international students will be separate from the national student. Why do you separate them? Because if you separate them from the locals, then they are not going to be able to interact nor create networking in order to be a global player. So in 3 years, the dip in the S curve moved from QS 330 to QS 165, and I had estimated that given another 2 years, USM will probably be in the top 100 if it moves in the same trajectory. But it's also high time to get away from this ranking, but go now to impact. And that's how I brought USM with Rahman before, and then the NC Datuk Rahman, and to say now let's go for Times Higher Education Impact Ranking against SDG. After all, this is what the APEX agenda is all about. And who's going to argue with you if what you do is to create impact to improve the 17 SDG? So because at that time when I left, we are 50 years of age at the university. It was USM got number 49, so it was top 50 at 50. So that became the tagline against SDG, which proved that the APEX agenda of USM finally deliver, and finally we have a third party in the world that actually can put that ranking to us. And I basically left USM with a lot of fond memories. I had a very tearful send-off. Tadi Nik Mahairan said that I'm an iron lady, but I think on my last day at USM, there was no iron in my blood. I was just cotton candy. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, completes my 1 hour. But like I said, I emphasize 3 things on the movement of step by step. By design, to climb up the ladder. Number 1, to be having accessibility to good, solid education from primary to tertiary, so that to prepare you to become an academic of good standing, make sure that happens. And when you become a leader, make sure that you empower people, and that make sure you always believe in the fact that success is not counted by how high you climb, but by the number of people that you brought with you. So with that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Datuk.